Hi everybody, this is Celeste. I'm a nationally certified interventionist. I'm a family coach and I'm also a recovery coach. And earlier today I posted some survival tips for when you have a person who's in active addiction. And a lot of times when I'm talking to family members of someone who's in active addiction, they come to me and they're at their wits end. They feel lost and they're not sure where to go or what to do next. They feel emotionally exhausted, physically exhausted, spiritually exhausted. They're frustrated, they're anxious, they're angry, resentful, disappointed, depressed, all these things, and a lot of other things as well. So I posted some survival tips for how to keep going when you're in that place where you feel like you love somebody in active addiction. You feel like you're doing your best to help them, but nothing you do seems to help. And so I want to talk a little bit about the survival tips I posted earlier and how the family coaching program helps with those. So the first thing on the list was coming face to face with reality. And a lot of times it's not only the person in active addiction that's in denial about their addiction, but family members can be too. And with family members, there's usually two sides to their denial system. So one, they're in denial about their family members' addiction, and they're also in denial about how their behaviors have contributed to that. And that's not a judgment, because I've said this before and I'll say it again, that we love these people, and a lot of times we start out with the intention of wanting to help this person because we do love them, we care about them, we don't want to see them hurting, we don't want to see them in a bad place. So that comes from a very good and loving place, but it ends up going sideways on us. So really working to come out of that sense of denial, and also too that even that sense of trying to help them in that pattern of codependency and enabling can become very addictive to the person that's trying to help. They can almost become as addicted to the other person and their problems as that person becomes to the substance that they're using. And again, that's not a judgment, it's just it's the unfortunate reality of the situation, right? And coming to terms with the fact that you can't control or fix another person, right? And letting go of that feeling like you want to control their behaviors, you want to fix them. Maybe what's best for them, but a lot of times that trying to help or giving advice falls on deaf ears, and the help that we've tried to give in the past isn't working. So we need to find new ways of detaching and not trying to control their behaviors, but rather trying to support them in healthy, constructive, positive ways. So and to part of that, going hand in hand with that is stopping the blame game. A lot of times in families where there's addiction, the addict is blaming family members, the family members are blaming the addict, and that's just not constructive. That's not helpful to the end result that we want to accomplish. And at the end of the day, our end goal here is to help the person who's living in addiction, to help them get into recovery, to live a better life. So letting go of the blame, and I know it's hard. I know, I get it. I've been there. That it's hard to let go of that, but that's something that we really work on in family coaching, and how to go from blaming the problem focused stuff. So blame is very much focusing on the problem. I focus on solution focused stuff. So rather than focusing on who we can blame, what do we do to actually help fix it? So that's really where I look at it. And I get it, it's hard to come out of that. Also, too, learning the difference between helping and enabling and codependency. And like I said, they very much go hand in hand, because we do start off wanting to help. We legitimately want to help that person. But at some point in that cycle of addiction, it goes into enabling. And it's not a fine point of when that happens. It's not like, oh, on September 24th, 1981 at exactly 4 o'clock, I went from helping to enabling. It's not something that you can pinpoint to a specific time and place as to when it happened. It's a progression, right? It evolves. So it's not something that you're maybe even aware that you're doing. So again, this isn't a judgment. It's just talking about the realities of the situation. Another big part of that is not giving into the manipulation. So when that person is in that state of active addiction, they will do or say anything to get that next dose, that next hit, that next whatever, that next drink, whatever their substance is. They will do and say anything that they have to do. And unfortunately, a lot of times their value system goes right out the window, right? Things that you couldn't believe this person would say or do to get their substance of choice, you find them doing. So, and it's important to not give in to the manipulation when they're trying to manipulate you to help them and enable them to get that substance. So that's hugely important too. And also too, self-care, remembering that self-care isn't selfish, because at the end of the day, let's admit it, helping someone in active addiction, loving somebody in active addiction isn't easy. It's exhausting, it's tiring, and we really need to be cognizant of taking that time for ourselves to do self-care, to make sure that we're doing okay, because if we're not doing okay, we're not going to be able to help anybody else. So that's super, super important. And also rebuilding your own life. So a lot of times the carnage of addiction goes past the addict's life. The carnage goes into their family members, their friends, their coworkers, their colleagues. All these other people really wreak the havoc in addiction. So, nobody goes unscathed in this. So, really focusing on and rebuilding your own life. So again, you can be in a really good place to help that other person out. And also realizing that you don't have to wait for things to hit rock bottom. Everybody talks about rock bottom. The addict has to hit a rock bottom. And the more we talk about it, the more we learn about addiction, we realize that the person doesn't have to hit rock bottom. You can just say it's gotten bad enough and choose to get that help. So, even as a family member, you don't have to feel like you're at your rock bottom of trying to help them to get there. So, those are some of the survival tips that I talked about earlier in my post. And, I get that these survival tips are easier said than done. And that's why family coaching is so hugely important, because, it's easy to say stop blaming, or it's easy to say stop enabling and start helping. It's easy to say don't give in to the manipulation. But when they're calling you at three in the morning and they're ranting and raving and using every manipulation tactic in the book, that's easier said than done. So the family coaching program, again, really focuses on the solution focused part of making these changes. Rather than continuing to live in the problem, we're going to start to look at solutions. So where we really go with this is at the beginning of the program, we look at changing thinking and behaviors. And a lot of times family members will say, well, why do I have to change what I'm doing? Why do I have to change what I'm thinking? And I go back to them and say, well, how's that working for you? Like, how are your current behaviors and thinking patterns helping you and helping the person you love? And oftentimes they say, well, they're not. So we really need to focus on changing some of those underlying thinking patterns and behavior patterns. And this is really the foundation for the family coaching program. And once we start to look at changing those thoughts and behaviors, then we can start to look at things like improving communication. So how to better effectively communicate what you need, what you want, what your truth is, learning how to communicate that in a way that the person is going to be receptive to hearing what you have to say. And then we're going to build on that from effective communication. We're going to talk about setting better boundaries, and that's going to speak right to not giving into manipulation. It's going to speak to helping rather than enabling. So when that person calls you and wanting your help, you're going to say, no, I can't enable you. So learning to do those things, stopping the manipulation, stopping the blaming, stopping the controlling and fixing, right? So all of those things are really based on boundaries, and even doing self-care. a lot of times for us to do self-care, we do have to set boundaries and say, I can't do that tonight, I've got to do some self-care. So that's super, super important. And all of these things, so changing the thoughts, the behaviors, the improving the communication and the boundaries, that's really the foundation for our end goals. And our end goal in this is to improve our relationships, not only with the person in active addiction, but all our friends and family members, everybody that we deal with on a daily basis. And all of these things in turn is going to help you better help the person that you love who's in active addiction. So that's a summary of the family coaching program that I do. And what the program that I offer is based on evidence-based approaches that I myself have applied to my own life with people that I love who are in active addiction, who have either passed away or still in active addiction. I've applied these to my own recovery. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I've applied these strategies to my own life, and I know from my personal experience that they work. I've also applied them to helped apply family members apply it to their lives. It works for them. It works in a clinical setting. It works in a coaching setting. It's based on a lot of years and years of research. So these aren't things that I've just randomly pulled out of the air. So that's important for people coming into the program to understand as well, is that these are effective strategies. These do work. If you can take them and honestly implement them and work them, they do work. And I personally, in a professional setting, whether it be coaching, I've coached on many, many levels, and the magic and miracles that I've seen happen with people that give a good, honest try to using and implementing these strategies, I've seen miracles and magic happen. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely amazing. I love seeing it happen. I love seeing people change their lives. So I'm going to post the link where you can do the application to my family coaching program. Spots are limited, so you're going to want to get there as soon as you can and fill out that application. We'll do a call afterwards. We'll start to set up your individualized program because everybody's different. It's not cookie cutter. So we'll get on the phone. We'll talk about your individual family coaching program that's going to be specified to your goals and needs. So make sure you click the link, fill out the application, and let's talk. Have a good night.